Hello everybody and welcome to the last new player guide for the Drowned City Investigator box with Agatha Crane, who is a little bit special because she has two investigators. So in this video, you're getting two decks for the price of one. Wow, that's going to be so exciting. This deck is built with just the revised core and Drowned City in mind. If you want to go further beyond that, we won't have this in this video, but I'll likely do something with Agatha in an expanded form in the future. I'm just not exactly sure what that is right now. Let's talk a bit about Agatha. We're only going to talk about the Seeker side because, as I mentioned, we are going to talk about the Mystic version of her in the near future. Well, in this video, in the near future. But yeah, so let's talk about Agatha. 4/4/1/3. She has a reaction ability when your turn ends. If you sealed, cancel, or ignored one or more chaos tokens this round, play a spell or insight event from your discard pile, and after that event resolves, you remove it from the game. Her Elder Sign effect is +2. You may cancel this token and draw another in its place. If you do, draw one card. So, her Elder Sign ability actually triggers her reaction ability. Gives you a nice way, not consistent way, mind you, but a nice way to just trigger out her reaction ability, which can be very helpful to get that additional bonus of playing the extra spell or insight. If you think about it, her ability is just an elaborate extra action each turn, but there's a lot of really powerful ways that you're able to take advantage of that in a larger card pool, but there still are some nice things we can do here. So in this video, one thing I'm going to want you to do for both of these decks is pay very close attention to the traits on all the cards I'm going to be talking about here once we get to the events, because those are going to be the cards that we're going to be able to play from our discard pile with Agatha Crane's ability. In this limited collection, Agatha, like George, has a lot of support for her ability. There's a lot of ways for her to do this seal, cancel, and ignore, and there's going to be a lot of things that we can do to maybe not do it every turn, but do it enough that it feels impactful, that we're able to take advantage of, and then, you know, kick butt doing it. Agatha also actually is relatively simple. She is following the traditional kind of mystic seeker stat line where she has 4 brain and 4 book, meaning that she is good at both playing spells, which is good because she can play spells, but it also means that she can just investigate normally with her book score, which is a very nice thing to do. So both of these decks, while the mystic version is going to lean a bit more towards fighting, kind of like flexing a little bit, this the Seeker version is going to live very much on the clue side of things. When we get to the second deck, I'm not going to talk about cards in great detail that I've already talked about, because there's a lot of crossover between the decks. It's kind of just like the flavor and the function of these decks is going to be the bigger difference between them, but the individual cards themselves are going to follow a very similar game plan. Let's talk about her deck building and all of that stuff. So she has a deck size of 35. This is because she has a strong ability, and that recursion that has there is kind of just going to like... The idea is that when you remove these cards, these events from the games using her ability, your deck is going to be smaller. So it kind of just like having a larger deck size at the beginning means that she's going to have a harder time doing the whole cycling loop of going through her deck again and again and again. Her deck building options are Seeker 0 to 5. This is, of course, the Seeker version. The Mystic version is different. So she has Seeker 0 to 5, Neutral 0 to 5, Insight Events level 0 to 3, and up to 10 other level 0 Mystic cards. She also has Ocula Obscura and Glimpse the Void, as well as 1 random basic weakness. Ocula Obscura is her signature. 3-cost asset, takes up the accessory slot. Agatha Crane deck only as a reaction. After you succeeded a skill test, if no tokens are sealed here, seal a non-symbol token revealed during the skill test on Ocula Obscura, limit once per phase. Forced, when you reveal the token from the Chaos Bag, resolve the token sealed here instead, then release that token. So, the nice thing about this card is that this gives you a continual way to trigger her ability, because you're going to be able to essentially seal something like every turn, if not every other turn, depending on how you play and approach each round. But this is really nice because it has it so that we don't need to, we have a piece in our deck that we know is going to be there, and we know is going to help us, well, 1, give us consistency in triggering our ability, but 2, is also actually a relatively powerful card that Agatha is able to take advantage of. This is a nice piece to have. I would keep it in my mulligan 100% of the time. Yeah, it's a very nice signature. Her weakness is Glimpse the Void. Put Glimpse the Void into play in your threat area as a revelation. The first time you reveal one or more Chaos tokens during each skill test, you must reveal one additional Chaos token and resolve its effects. And as an action, shuffle Glimpse the Void into your deck. This is a little bit of a spooky card, but luckily it's very easy to solve. The downside is that it shuffles into your deck, so you can never like solve it like permanently easily, especially with a limited collection. But the upside is because your deck is bigger, it's unlikely for you to see it multiple times, especially when we have this deck that's not going to be focusing too much on drawing cards just due to the limited collection that exists here. So let's dive in and let's start talking about the level 0 Seeker cards, the level 0 version of this deck, which is going to have some Seeker cards. 2-cost Flashlight, we're going to be running 2 of these. Takes up a hand slot, uses 3 supplies as an action. Spend 1 supply, investigate your location, gets -2 Shroud for this investigation. This is just going to give us some general consistency in terms of having a way to beat those high Shroud locations, but luckily we have both Magnifying Glass and Dr. Milan to help further facilitate this consistency. Magnifying Glass is a 1-cost asset, takes up the hand slot fast, you get +1 book while investigating, and Dr. Milan Christopher, 4-cost ally, soaks for 1 and 2, you get +1 book, and as a reaction, after you successfully investigate, gain 1 resource. All of these combined together allow us to investigate at 6, and also we can reduce the Shroud by 2 for like 4 or 5 Shroud locations to get even more consistency. If you're playing on standard difficulty, 6 is a very good number to investigate with. It means that you're going to probably be able to handle every location without much difficulty, and you're not going to have to spend resources to beat those 4 Shroud locations. Because of the fact on standard difficulty, you want to be on average up 2 on a test, and that means you're going to be more likely able to pass. Of course, being higher means you're even more likely able to pass, but 2 up usually is the point where you can risk a test that doesn't have big fail conditions on it and be okay in the process. Drawn to the Flame is our first event that we have here from the revised core. This is also an insight. As I mentioned, pay attention to the traits on all these cards, because these are the cards that we're going to be able to play from our discard pile with Agatha's ability. Drawn to the Flame, 0 cost. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. So, Agatha is pretty good, actually. She has a pretty good stat line when it comes to dealing with the Mythos phase, right? She has 4 brain, and as we know, Guts is good because your 4 brain is targeted, you're not your 4 brain, but in Agatha case, her 4 brain, but your brain is targeted more often than anything else when it comes to the Mythos phase. Yes, it's going to test most of your stats, but brain is most commonly tested in the Mythos phase, so she has that covered. On the flip side, she also has 3 foot, which means she actually is pretty good at protecting herself physically as well from cards like Grasping Hands. So Drawn to the Flame is a very nice inclusion for Agatha Crane, because it's an insight she can loop, but also she is just very good in the Mythos phase. I dropped my pen. Give me 1 second. We got it. We're good. Keeping this going, we got Emergency Cash. While we can't loop this card because it is a supply, we do get to gain 3 resources, which can be very, very nice. Because we're going to want resources, but Dr. Milan Christopher can also give us resources. But the reality is when you want to play a bunch of cards, especially cards from your discard pile, the more resources we have, the better things are going to be. Ward of Protection is a 1-cost event. Fast, play when you draw a non-weakness treachery card, cancel that card's revelation effect, then take 1 horror. This allows us to protect ourselves a bit from scary Mythos cards like Ancient Evils. If you're a new player, Ancient Evils is going to be a very tough card that you're going to hate drawing, so being able to use Ward of Protection to stop that is very helpful. One thing to keep in mind, reactionary cards like this, you cannot use with Agatha's ability because there's nothing to react to when it triggers. Her reaction allows you to just play a spell or insight event from your discard pile, but Ward of Protection, for example, is not going to be one of those cards that you can play because there's no treachery for you to react to when that happens. Working a Hunch is a 2-cost event, commits for 2 book, which is the important thing here. It's an insight, fast play only during your turn, discover 1 clue at your location. Well, the issue with Working a Hunch is that it's expensive, right? 2 resources for a fast clue is not terrible, but it's not exactly good or great either. It's just kind of fine. However, one thing that I really like for Agatha Crane and this Working a Hunch is that you can commit it to a test to get +2 book, and then later on it can be the card that you play to use her ability. You can also just play it normally if you have the resources for it, like free clues is nothing to say no to, but having the ability to also commit it, I think, really opens up working a hunch. And we might see that on a few other cards coming up later in this video. Deduction is just a skill. If it's successful while investigating a location, discover one additional clue at that location. It's just a very nice card to have for getting more clues as a primary Kluver investigator. Guts is good because, as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be the test that the Mythos phase is most commonly going to ask from you. Agatha Crane also gets that additional boost because she is going to be using her brain to use Eyes of the Dreamer in this deck, and then in the Mystic version, Guts is going to be even better because we're going to have more brain tests that we're going to want to be taking. Perception is also just a good card here for a deck that's going to be heavily relying on getting clues by using her book score. Perception allows us to filter through our deck quicker by replacing itself with a card draw. On to the Drowned City cards here. We have Katarina Sochka. She is a 2-cost ally. She takes up the ally slot, of course, because she's an ally. Soaks for 1 and 2 as a reaction. When you reveal chaos tokens during a skill test you're performing, exhaust Katarina Sochka. Reveal tokens with a chaos bag until a token with a symbol is revealed. Resolve that token and ignore the rest. So there's a little bit of a fight here happening with Dr. Milan Christopher and Dr. Katarina Sochka, but I think that both of them are good, and you can kind of just play whichever one you want first, and then adapt to what you need in the scenario. So, for example, if you get Katarina first and you play her, but later on you realize, okay, it's time for me to... I found other pieces for my ways to get my ability triggered. I think it's time to go to Dr. Milan Christopher. Or if you're like, you have them both in your hand in your mulligan, and you're like, I feel like I want to get the clues going and the resource engine going, so I'm going to play Dr. Milan Christopher here and try to find other ways to trigger my ability. Because that's ultimately why Katarina is here, right? It's her ability to trigger Agatha Crane's reaction ability that is really nice. One thing to keep in mind, though, with Katarina, if you reveal a symbol token first, which will happen, you do not get to cancel any tokens, and it will not trigger Agatha's ability. While it is likely, she is very likely to trigger, it's unlikely, it's not like always going to be that way, so you can't rely on it 100% because it's not going to hit 100%. If you have Circle Undone or Feast of Hemlock Vale, Olive McBride is a very good way to trigger Agatha Crane's ability every turn with consistency. Eyes of the Dreamer is a 3-cost asset, takes up the spell slot, uses 9 charges. As an action, investigate. Use your brain instead of your book for this test, which is not a problem for Agatha Crane. While we don't have ways to boost it, it's still going to not be an issue because we have 4, so we can deal with 2 Shroud locations pretty handily. Before revealing Chaos tokens for this test, you may spend up to 3 charges to reveal that many additional Chaos tokens. Choose one of the revealed tokens to resolve and ignore the rest. If you succeed and the chosen token matches an ignored token, discover 1 additional clue at your location. So, this is good for 2 reasons. One, should be pretty obvious that this is a way for us to ignore tokens, which is really good for triggering Agatha ability when we want to trigger. The other thing, less good in this deck because it's going to be better in the Mystic side when we get there. This allows us to do investigate actions with our brain, which can be good for Guts. This is going to matter for the Mystic one. We're going to touch on it again when we get to it. But Eyes of the Dreamer is really nice because it gives you a consistent way for you to investigate with your brain, which can matter, especially when we get to the Mystic side. Also is good for Guts. You can use that offensively as well. It's also going to be really good, those 9 charges for Spectral Shield, which we're going to be talking about on the next slide. We have 3 copies of Uncanny Specimen in the Water of Life. This is a 1-cost asset that takes up the spell slot. It's a myriad card, so you're going to get 3 of them in your deck. Fast, up to 3 Uncanny Specimen cards can take up 1 Arcane slot. As a reaction, when a Skull, Cultist, Tablet, or Squid symbols revealed during a skill test at your location, you can discard Uncanny Specimen. Cancel that Chaos token, return to the Chaos bag, and reveal a new one. If this test is successful, draw 1 card. So, like the other things we've seen here, Uncanny Specimen does a really good job of triggering our ability, but it's also going to be a way for us to filter through our deck through card draw, because the card is going to replace itself if you do end up succeeding that second test. I think that Uncanny Specimen is likely going to be a card that you're going to upgrade out of as you upgrade your deck, but it's really nice for level 0 to just have a bit more consistency in triggering Agatha's ability on the Seeker side. We're not going to see Uncanny Specimen on the Mystic side, because that spell slot is a lot more competitive on that side of things. Next up, we got Correlate All Its Contents, which is probably one of the most... It's a glue card for Agatha Crane. I actually think this card is really good in her. So, it's a 1-cost event, it's an insight, so we can play it with our ability. Investigate. You may cancel the first Chaos token revealed for this skill test, return it to the bag, and reveal a new one. If you succeed at this skill test, place 1 charge or secret on an asset controlled by an investigator at your location. And if you succeed by exactly 1 or 3, you get to place 2 charges or secrets on that asset instead. We'll be able to take advantage of that more as we upgrade up, and also more on the Mystic side, but it is the fact that this card is just a way for us to investigate and then also trigger our ability. So for example, we could like play Correlate All Its Contents, cancel the first token, probably pass the test, and then play Drawn to the Flame at the end of our turn. That's a lot of tempo that Correlate All Its Contents gives. The more just guaranteed token triggers, like token cancels, sealeds, or ignores that we can do with Agatha Crane, the better things are going to be, because we're just going to be able to, like, make it work. And the more we're able to just get, like, tempo on the game in the long run. Spectral Shield was the card I mentioned earlier. It's a 1-cost event, fast, play only during your turn, attached to a player card with health and or sanity at your location. Forced, when attached card takes 1 or more damage or horror, cancel 1 of that damage. The owner of Spectral Shield must remove 1 charge from an asset they control. If they cannot, discard Spectral Shield. So, this is good with Eyes of the Dreamer. It will eventually run out, but like the drip damage that it stops is probably good enough for this card to like go the distance. A few things to consider. It does come in for a wild, which can be really nice to get in your discard pile. And while there is a little bit of disagreement about this online, the when your turn ends is, in my opinion, still part of your turn, so you can trigger this. It's just like when your turn is ending is a moment when your turn is, but if people disagree, that's on them, and I'm more power to them, but I personally believe it works this way, and I'm going to wager I'm going to be right. That's just I'm putting it all on black for that one. But yeah, just some, because you do only have 6 damage, like 6 health that you can take, which is not like a bad number, but like having Spectral Shield to potentially save some of that is okay. We have Unconventional Method. This is 0-cost insight event that commits for 2 books. So like Working a Hunch, this is a nice card for us to commit to a test and then play later. We can investigate, additional cost to play Unconventional Method. Choose and discard an item asset that takes up at least 1 hand slot from your hand or play area. Right now, this is probably going to just be Flashlight. As an action, investigate. You get plus X books for this investigation, where X is the chosen asset's printed resource cost. If you succeed and that asset was in your play area, discover 1 additional clue your location. So this is a nice way for us to turn a Flashlight into a value later on. What the nice thing about Unconventional Method with Agatha Crane is the fact that we can commit it for 2 book, and then wait until the perfect moment comes where we can get the later value out of the Flashlight that we have. Confidence is the last card here in the level 0 deck. It says a level 0 skill, neutral. Commits for a wild. Max 1 committed per skill test. For each additional Chaos token revealed during the skill test, even if it was cancelled or ignored, Confidence gains a wild to a maximum of +3 icons. I think you're going to ultimately upgrade out of this card, but it is a fine level 0 option in this limited collection because we are going to be revealing additional Chaos tokens, so having some more security for that can potentially be very good. Okay. We're now going to move on to the the Seeker side of the XP cards here. So we're going to be doing Mystic right after this, so we're still going. Level 1 Magnifying Glass, it's just cheaper and we can return it to our hand. This can be really good if we want to protect it from the Mythos phase, or like just get cards in hand, or put different cards into play with our hand, like different cards into play in our hand slot, especially as your collection gets bigger. I have Charisma and Relic Hunter here. These are 3 experience permanents. Charisma gives you additional ally slot. Relic Hunter gives you an additional accessory slot. The Charisma will solve the Katarina Dr. Milan problem, and then you can have them both in play, which is really nice. And Relic Hunter can be if you want more things in your accessory slot, because there are going to be some options as you upgrade. Cryptic Reachers is a 4 experience, 0 cost insight. It's an insight. Fast, play only during your turn. Choose an investigator location. That investigator draws 3 cards. I don't know about you, but I would love to draw 6 cards in my turn. Thank you very much. Seems really nice with Agatha Crane. Emergency Cash, 2, 0 cost, gain 3 resources and draw 1 card. While not a flashy upgrade, I do like this upgrade. Just like it replacing itself just gives you more consistency and power over your deck, but I understand you probably want to upgrade other things first. Seeking Answers is a 1 cost, 2 experience event. It's an insight. Investigate. If you succeed, discover 2 total clues from among your location and connecting locations. You've probably noticed that, like, at least in the core set, the cards are all very simple and they're just kind of like do what they do. And it's kind of just like obvious here with what we've seen on this last one with like Cryptic Research, draw cards, Magnifying Glass gets your book, like just makes it cheaper, and your investigating is good. Seeking Answer just gives you more clues, right? Like, it's a very simple thing for this. Seeking Answers is nice because, like Unconventional Method and Working a Hunch, it has 2 foot icons, which is very just good to commit and then play later. Again, you can also play it and then play later. Like, these are things that are totally fine, but I like what keeps it open is the fact, like, that's stronger, right? So, like, yes, in a perfect world, we'd love to play Seeking Answers, right? But wouldn't you want the skill cards that you commit? Like, for example, a card that you could commit for 2 foot that you could later play from your discard. That's kind of how Agatha Crane changes the values of these cards, which is a very nice thing. Last card here from the revised core is a Sure Gamble, 2 cost, 3 experience. It's an insight. Fast, play after you reveal a chaos token with a negative modifier. Switch that token's minus to a plus. This is a nice little card. You can't use it with Agatha's ability, but just gives you some test protection. Drowned City here, we only have 3 options to really look at here on the Seeker side. The Antikythera, 3 cost, 5 experience. It takes up the accessory slot. After you succeeded a skill test, exhaust Antikythera. If you succeeded by exactly 1 or 3, discover a clue your location. Exactly 2 or 4, draw 1 card and gain 1 resource. Exactly 5, you may take an additional action during your next turn. This card is just kind of like good stuff, the card. It just like takes all of your tests and just says, hey, what if we made it a little bit better? The only thing it doesn't really care about is when you succeed by exactly 0 or when you succeed by 6 or more. The exactly 0 one, that's okay. Like, you know, you succeeded the test still. 6 or more, you probably are already winning the game. But like 1 to 5 are very common numbers to succeed by, and you're just going to kind of like just slowly outvalue the game when you have this card in play. Misdirection is a 2 cost, 2 experience, arcane ritual asset. Limit 1 per investigator, seal the +1 or 0. You may resolve this keyword again after you discover the last clue at your location. As a reaction, when an enemy attacks an investigator location, exhaust misdirection and release a token sealed here. Cancel that attack, then that investigator may move to a connecting location. I kind of slept on this card a bit. Turns out unlimited dodges, because you're going to like, I mean, not unlimited, but close to unlimited dodges is going to be really nice. Additionally, this is another way for Agatha to seal stuff, which is like very good for triggering her ability. So yeah, basically like you're going to play it and seal, and then in the future, whenever you get the last clue from locations, that's also going to then trigger the effect there. Cosmic Revelation is a 0 cost event. It's an insight and a spell, so it works double duty here. Choose even or odd. Each investigator reveals each non-weakness card in their hand with a cost matching the chosen option. In player order, each investigator may choose to either draw 1 card from their deck or play 1 card revealed from their hand. This is just a nice like table value card. I probably wouldn't play it unless I had 3 or 4 players in the game, but it's a really nice thing to play and then also use with Agatha's ability at the end of your turn. Okay, let's now go to the Mystic side of things. Her front half on this is exact same. The signatures are the exact same, so I'm not going to dive into detail there. But her deck size, still 35. Mystic card 0 to 5, so she doesn't have the Seeker 0 to 5 anymore. Spell events 0 to 3, so as opposed to Insight 0 to 3, she's now Spell 0 to 3. And up to 10 other level 0 Seeker cards. So kind of like the flip of what she had for the other side. But otherwise, the gameplay itself is very similar. But as you can see from the deck, different cards. So because of the limitations we have here, a few things that are going to carry over from the other side. So we're going to dive in, check them out. I'm not going to touch too much on cards that I've already talked about because I don't want to just I don't want to basically just explain Magnifying Glass again in great detail. So let's dive in. Okay. All right, magnifying glass, I talked about in the previous one. It's still good here to add. I will give, like, I'm not going to explain the card, but I'll give further context for the deck. You have nothing in your hand slots here. We're not even playing flashlight. So this is a way for us to put in here and use our book when we want to investigate, or our brain to investigate, to just make things like the perfect card, that like the perfect investigate action we want to do at the perfect time. Holy Rosary is a 2-cost item charm asset that takes up the accessory slot. This one is going to compete with Ocula Obscura. However, you can kind of just like make it work, or as you upgrade, we can get that Relic Hunter that we saw in the upgrades from the Seeker side of things. This card just gives you +1 brain, which is really nice because we are more of a spell asset-based investigator here, so having a way to increase our brain is just going to be general consistency for passing our tests for those spell assets. Arcane Initiate is our first ally of choice in this deck, so we dropped Dr. Milan and put in Arcane Initiate. 1 cost, after it enters play, place 1 Doom on it. As a lightning bolt, exhaust Arcane Initiate, search the top 3 cards of your deck for a spell card and draw it, then shuffle your deck. Soaks for 1 and 2. Some things for Arcane Initiate. You can try to kill her before the Doom matters, or you can play Arcane Initiate the turn before the agenda would advance. This is often called Witching Hour, I believe, by the community, and it's a nice way for you to just like game the Doom penalty a little bit. So yeah, she's a strong card. She has a lot of spells that she can get, right? Breath of the Sleeper, Eyes of the Dreamer, Shriveling, Spectral Shield, Ward of Protection, Whispers of Doom, and then as you upgrade, you'll also put more spells in here. So she's always going to hit good cards, which is really nice. Sorry, just had to drink some water. Shriveling. This is also new. That wasn't in the Seeker side of things. I mentioned that this deck is kind of leaning a bit to a flex fighter. We're not going to be going too hard with it. Mostly just because it doesn't really upgrade well, so we are going to be like flex leaning heavily towards Clue, but we can still deal some damage, and Shriveling is one of our options for that. 3-cost asset, takes up the spell slot, uses 4 charges. As an action, spend 1 charge, fight. This attack uses Brain instead of Fist and deals +1 damage. If a Skull, Cultist, Tablet, Squid, or Autofill is revealed during this attack, take 1 horror. So some downside to using the spell, but you do get 4 shots. You can use it to kill your Arcane Initiate, or excuse me, you do have 8 brain, so you'll probably be able to tank a few Shriveling hits, no problem. Drawn to the Flame, Emergency Cache, Ward of Protection are still here, and they're all still good for the reasons I mentioned previously. Ward of Protection is also a little bit better here because you can use it to defeat Arcane Initiate, which is very nice. Fearless is a skill, commits for a brain. If this skill test is successful, heal 1 horror. We can use this to kind of mitigate some of that horror we're taking from Ward of Protection and Shriveling. So, easy stuff here. Guts and Perception, still good. You might be wondering why Perception made the cut here again. It's because we're still leaning heavily towards clues as a flex. Like, we're still getting clues, and Perception allows us to get through our deck quicker, which is a very nice thing to be able to do. On to the Drowned City cards. Katarina is still here. There's less of a conflict between Katarina and Arcane Initiate. The main reason for this is that unlike Dr. Milan Christopher, who is like you set him and you forget him and he just gives you value over the course of the game, Arcane Initiate can kind of just give you like pieces of value right now, and then you can kind of just be like, thank you, your work is done, I'm going to play Katarina. Another way to get Arcane Initiate is to fill up your ally slot, drop the Arcane Initiate, and leave Katarina in play. Katarina is still good because we want to find ways to trigger our ability, and we can still play insight events and spell events with it, so we're still looking for those events here to be relevant, but Katarina just, again, having a way to trigger it consistently is really nice, and less conflict with Dr. Milan means that she's going to be probably a bigger star in this deck. Along with Eyes of the Dreamer, which is still here, we have Breath of the Sleeper. Breath of the Sleeper, very similar. 3-cost asset, takes up the Arcane slot, uses 9 charges, fight. Use your brain instead of your fist for this test. Before revealing Chaos tokens, you may spend up to 3 charges to reveal that many additional tokens. Choose one of the revealed tokens to resolve and ignore the rest. If you succeed, and the chosen token matches an ignore token, this attack deals +2 damage. So you can't really rely on this as a consistent way to deal damage, but like Eyes of the Dreamer, this is a card that you can just always fight with your brain. So you can't really deal with big boss enemies, but it's not really your job in this deck. But like, say for example, you get cornered by a ghoul or rats, you could just try to finish them off with Breath of the Sleeper, shoot your shot with the multiple tokens to see if you hit that extra damage, or just like, you know, hit it twice, or in the case of the rats, hit it once. As I mentioned with in the secret deck with Eyes of the Dreamer, this is just a way for us to investigate commonly with our brain, which is really nice with the Agatha Crane Holy Rosary thing we got going on here. And you can also see in the deck list just over here, Spectral Shield is still here, so the same thing, that both Breath of the Sleeper, Eyes of the Dreamer are really nice for that. We have a 1 of Artistic Inspiration. This is a 2-cost asset, limit 1 per investigator, uses 1 inspiration. As a Lightning Bolt, exhaust Artistic Inspiration to discard 1 card from your hand. Replenish 1 inspiration on this card. As a reaction, after revealing Chaos tokens for a skill test you're performing, spend 1 inspiration. You get +1 or -1 skill value for this skill test. This is just a way for you to get some test protection, but also can work really well for something like Correlate All Its Contents, which is notably actually better in this deck because we have like Eyes of the Dreamer and Breath of the Sleeper and Shriveling, which we would enjoy getting extra things, and then Rite of Seeking in our upgrades. So I think Artistic Inspiration does a really nice job here. It is only a 1 of because we don't want to be discarding too many cards to this. But the plus side is when you have a limited collection like this, sometimes the card's value is actually just better being discarded for this kind of effect. We have 2 copies of Mortar and Pestle. This is a 2-cost asset, item tool science, uses 0 resources. Resources on Mortar and Pestle may be spent to pay for spell cards. As a reaction, after you discover 1 or more clues, exhaust Mortar and Pestle, place 1 resource on it from the token pool. Hey, this might remind you of Dr. Milan Christopher, and yes, it's much worse than Dr. Milan Christopher, but this is just a way for you to get value and pay for your spells down the road, while basically also still winning the game in the process. Correlate All Its Contents, Spectral Shield are still here. They're both great. As I mentioned with Correlate All Its Contents, this is more relevant here, so those extra charges are going to be really nice. And with Spectral Shield, we have more ways to mitigate damage for that kind of thing. Spectral Shield, you player card with Health or Sanity. Agatha Crane, she is a player card, so you can place this card on her. Whispers of Doom is our last card here in the level 0 deck. This is a 3-cost event, Spell, Cursed, Parlay. Choose a non-weakness enemy at your location and test Brain 3. This test gets +X difficulty, where X is that enemy's horror value. If you succeed, defeat that enemy, or deal a 3 damage if it is elite. If you fail, place 1 Doom on that enemy. It's an expensive card, but it is a very nice card for us to play multiple times throughout the game and just delete enemies. So, like I said, this is a bit of a more flexy version, but we can use tools like Breath of the Sleeper and Whispers of Doom to potentially, and also Shriveling to potentially deal with threats as they come up. Okay, we're now going to go to the Mystic XP cards on the Mystic side of things. So, in the core set, we have Grotesque Statue. This is a 2-cost, 4 experience item relic asset that takes up the hand slot. Uses 4 charges. If Grotesque Statue has no charges, discard it. As a reaction, when you reveal Chaos tokens, spend 1 charge, reveal 2 Chaos tokens instead of 1. Choose one of those tokens to resolve and ignore the other. So, this is a very nice option that we did not have in the Seeker version. What this is really nice about this is it gives us consistency for a test, so we're going to be more likely to pass them, but it's also a very nice way to trigger Agatha's ability, and because it also has charges, we can use Correlate All Its Contents to put more stuff on that, which is really nice for Agatha Crane. I think this is a very good upgrade for the Mystic version of her in this limited collection, and I would highly advise checking it out. Rite of Seeking is a 4-cost, 2 experience spell asset. Uses 3 charges. As an action, spend 1 charge, investigate. Investigate using Brain instead of Book. You get +2 Brain for this test. If you succeed, you discover 1 additional clue at your location. If a skull, tablet, cultist, squid, or autofill symbol is revealed during this test, after the test resolves, lose all remaining actions and immediately end your turn. That might sound scary, but just do it as your last action, and then there's literally no risk. This just gives you more clues, quicker, faster, stronger, better, faster, quicker. So that's just a really nice addition as you upgrade. Blinding Light is another way for us to manage enemies if we did want to lean even more into the flexing side of things. 1-cost event, 2 experience. Evade. This evasion attempt uses Brain instead of Foot. If you succeed and deal 2 damage to the enemy just evaded. If a skull, cultist, tablet, squid, or autofail symbols are revealed in this evasion attempt, lose 1 action this turn and take 1 horror. I actually think it would be a very fun thing to play this card with Agatha's ability, and then if you reveal one of those symbols, yes, you're still taking a horror, but you can kind of just like flip off the game for the lose 1 action. I think that would kind of be cute. Yeah, I think it's a nice card. I think it's like basically a kill spell. 2 damage is a lot to an enemy, and it is a spell event we can play with her ability. Emergency Cache, same thing as applies to the other one. Not a priority upgrade, but it just makes your deck more consistent. On to the Drowned City side of things, we have Sword Cane. This is a 2-cost, I guess also, sorry, Relic Hunter should also be here. I didn't put it in the video for the slides here because it was in the previous one, but Relic Hunter should also be here. Sorry, on to Sword Cane. 2 cost, takes up the hand slot, fast. After enters play, you may deal 1 damage to an enemy engaged with you, immediately trigger the action ability below without paying its cost. Exhaust Sword Cane as an action, fight, evade. You may use your brain in place of your fist or foot for this attack or evasion attempt, and you get +1 skill value for this test. This is a way for us to deal with enemies. We can't really do anything like broken with it. Some of the other like Dexter Drake, for example, can really use it really well. So it's just kind of a hero way for us to ping an enemy when we first play it, and then be able to just like whack or trip enemies down. It's a very nice card though. 2 cost, Eye of Gananathoa. Artifact of the Dark God, takes up the accessory slot. It's exceptional. You get +1 brain, play with the top card of the encounter deck revealed, and it gives you 3 damage soak, sorry. While this card isn't like super flashy in terms of what it can do, in terms of like knowing what the top card of the encounter deck is, having that knowledge, especially in smaller player counts, gives you a bit more information in which you can use to dictate the pace of your turns. So it's not nothing. I don't think it's like exceptionally good. I mean, it is an exceptional card, but that doesn't mean it's exceptionally good. It just means the card's exceptional. It is still an option you can consider if you do want to like upgrade your Holy Rosaries in the long term to just give you a bit more meat soak. Cosmic Revelation is still good here for the reasons stated. Hunter's Mark, 1-cost event, fast, play to attach to enemy or location. Investigators get +1 fist while fighting this enemy. When damage is dealt to attached enemy, discard Hunter's Mark, deal 1 additional damage to an enemy. Any investigator may trigger this ability. I included this one here because it's actually, I think, really nice with Agatha's ability. It is a spell, so we can like put it on an enemy, have our goon use it to finish that enemy. We also can use it to like deal extra damage from our attacks, but we do not get the fist boost because we're very unlikely to be attacking with our fist with Agatha, and then playing that again from our discard pile can be a very nice thing to do. Last card here is Enraptured 2. This is a practiced expert skill, commits for a book and a wild. Max 1 committed per skill test. If this skill test is successful during an investigation, place up to 3 charges and or secrets on assets controlled by an investigators at your location. This is a very powerful card. We're going to be doing a lot of investigating, and we care a lot about charges and secrets on things. I think this is a very, very nice upgrade. I would look at it potentially replacing Perception as like an easy thing to just replace, but even keeping Perception and adding something else in your deck is cutting something else is probably still going to work really well with Enraptured here. Card's just really nice, and Agatha Crane can take a little bit of advantage of it here, but you can take even more advantage of it when it comes to a full collection type of thing. Yes! And that's that. That is the last of these new player guides for the Drowned City. This was the fun time making all of these for all of you. I hope you enjoyed them, and I hope if you are a new player, you found them helpful. I'll be back to do this again in the future for our next expansion. Believe you me, we will doing this until Arkham is just a distant memory on a fading star. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one, and as always, the GGs.